Howdy, you delicious people. I'm here today to review Season 3, Episode 7 of The Masked Singer. So today we have a brand new group of people. We have a brand new group of celebrities singing along in today's episode. Reasonably, I'm going to let you know who I thought they might be. Ultimately, probably by next week, a lot of these choices probably will change, probably will be different. But ultimately, I'm gonna give you my first initial thoughts of who I could question that these people are, and maybe come up with some kind of reasons why I made these choices. Some choices might be shots in the dark. Some choices might be from the internet. Some choices might just be from me just hearing something and figuring something out. So without a doubt, yeah, I will let you know who got eliminated. I won't actually tell you who it actually is until the very end of the video, so feel okay that you won't get spoiled right away of who that is. Um, I'll let you know, I'll give you a double five count, we'll go into spoilers, and you'll actually see who the actual person is at the end of the episode. Then after that, we'll get into a season review and if I've been doing well or poorly or whatever. Uh, Ultimately, so far, I'm kind of feeling quasi good about this season, but that doesn't exactly say that if am I still doing good or not. So, yeah, we of course have Group C, uh, that came today. Rhino, TRex, Astronaut, Swan, Bear, and Night Angel. And I know people are getting the last one incorrect a lot by saying what is it? Night Angel, something Angel? It's Angel something. Because really, the name really doesn't make much sense. So, some interesting cast of characters. So I'm going to, interestingly enough, tell you who I thought that they could be. First off, we had Night Angel singing a tune. Reasonably, yeah, I thought the tune was pretty dang good. Ultimately, the judges kind of said right away, like Taylor Danes, who, of course, if you guys don't know, sang. She's most notably known for singing the song "Tell It to My Heart." Tell it to my heart. Tell me I'm the only one. Is this really love or just a phase or something like that? I of course know that song. Of course, she was also currently on an interview with Michael Rosenbaum, and on the show Inside of You. So I've kind of heard her lately, what she's kind of been going on. In the clues, there had been a word that kind of stuck out to me. Ultimately said the word landslide. And I'm like, well, landslide is a Dixie Chicks song. So I'm like, like maybe there are other Dixie Chick songs like that are maybe called My Prerogative or some other things that kind of alluded to those clues. Ultimately, I'm thinking that maybe one of the Dixie Chicks might be Dark Angel. Yeah, those are the two people that I can kind of see that could maybe one of the Dixie Chicks and Taylor are the only probably two that I could probably think of could be this Night Angel. What a weird costume, but if anyways, fairly interesting. The bear had gone home tonight, and the only thing that I could really think of was really just Tyra Banks, bizarrely. Because ultimately, there was a whole thing about Tyra Banks having issues with people making fun of her body or something like that. To the point where on her own show she had to go out of her way and lose a lot of weight to just like, yeah, so what? I had a big butt. So what? Who cares? That's kind of the only thing that could pop into my mind at the time of this. Uh, that was the only clue that I could think of that could make any sense. But ultimately, by the end of the episode, you're gonna know if I'm right or wrong. But luckily, I'm gonna have another week to marinate on a lot of these other characters rather than this bear character. So right or wrong, it's not a big deal. I've kind of had a I've had a pretty good season so far, and ultimately, realistically, not going on a lot of hours of sleep per this episode. So yeah, it's like going into this episode, like there is like I tried as much as possible to listen to the clues, but like throughout the entire episode, I was just kind of like, ugh. I was like, it's like let's just get through the episode and hope that we can come up with a much clearer consensus the following week. The astronaut reasonably once there was like no clues to allude to anything seemingly through this astronaut. The reasonably when they said pitch perfect, I immediately went with Adam Devine because I remember him being on there. I've seen Adam Devine in The Final Girl. I've seen him in Workaholics. I've seen him in a couple things. Recently, I know he has sung recently on an award show, so I don't really know if the astronaut and Adam Devine sounds the same. Um I think Adam's voice is a little bit more uh deeper than this character. But there was also this clue about being a heartthrob. And so reasonably you kind of go through your Rolodex of these heartthrob-ish like characters. Ultimately I was just kind of drawing a blank. I'm like, well, there has to be some kind of like young guys that otherwise like sing pretty well and uh or somewhere in something. Ultimately, I also kind of watched a YouTube video um, talking about the Masked Singer as well, kind of flushing more things out. I've heard of Hunter Hayes before. I've kind of heard a little bit of his music here and there, but I'm not kind of very fresh on the character, or the character, the singer. But ultimately, I can allude that it could also be Hunter Hayes. But yeah, I'll also like leave a link to the video that I saw about the mouse singer, Miss the Masked Singer. Yeah, Joey Cantino, I believe I'm drawing a blank. There's gonna be a link down below of this video. Reasonably, it seems like a lot of the times, like any of the clues that I don't come up with, he probably does. So, yeah, go ahead and check that out. There's very few people that are reviewing episodes per episode. A lot of times, people are doing like a overview or just doing like a one kind of season thing or whatever of an entire season. Nobody's really doing much episode to episode. But I found out that this guy was doing it, and so I was like, all right, cool, interesting. Not trying to steal any of his kind of viewership or any of his answers or whatever. Um, ultimately, I'm getting comments on my videos of stuff, or I'm getting coming up with my own conclusions a lot of the times. Before maybe anybody else does at some points, but Hunter Hayes, yeah, young guy. I've kind of heard of him, but I'm not like again like I guess you would have to say it's like, well, you'd have to be an expertise on music to just know all of these people. I think you're trying to find. I think you're cheating somehow and trying to find some like. No, I watched a lot of garbage that no one else would reasonably watch. Like when I would go through and I would listen to music, I would listen to all kinds of music. Even if it's music that probably wouldn't interest me, I would just try to find something. Um Like if somebody is on the top charts of music, like I would go and listen to them and just like say, sounds like something I could listen to or tolerate or put on in the background somewhere and just kind of just all right. But yeah, Hunter Hayes probably wouldn't be one of those where I'd be going out of my way to seek. But I think in his heyday, when there was like a whole lot of like uh, guys going around like the Jesse McCarthy's and stuff like that, and like yeah, heartthrobs and whatever, what have you. So Hunter Hayes, maybe I don't know. Let's move on. Recently for the T-Rex, immediately the judges kind of went on the Julian Huff, if I'm saying that name correctly, Julian Huff bandwagon, of course. Her being from Dancing with the Stars, her being with America's Got Talent, maybe no longer with America's Got Talent, because ultimately, after this season, supposedly she and another judge got the boot, which is why I don't understand. But anyways, Julian Huff, if I'm not pronouncing that right, whatever. Ultimately, it kind of sounds like her. I guess I can kind of make that consensus, but I could be wrong. If there's a stronger opinion that people think that the T Rex could be a number of other things, let me know in the comments below. Um, like tone wise and otherwise, like I want to see much more what specifically this character brings to the table in following episodes. Maybe I'll come up with a much clearer consensus, or I'll completely change my mind. Hopefully, in the nick of time. Um, it seems to be a very small woman, so ultimately I can maybe assume it's Julian Huff. I'm assuming that this character isn't going to be doing any choreography or dancing anytime soon, so again, we won't exactly know until we go on a little further with this. Moving on. The Rhino! Reasonably, I would say that Tim McGraw is only 5'10", and I think Nick Cannon is over 6 feet tall. So I'm not quite sure if this guess is quite accurate. I'm just kind of going off of like, well, this character kind of sounds like Tim McGraw. Ultimately, there was a clue about Faith being in his clue package. So ultimately, I could be way off on this Rhino character because this Rhino character is very muscular, very big, very tall. I was like, man, this guy is so tall. Like, ultimately, it seems like with all of his clues, it seems like everything sounded like a wrestler to me, like flying high and like all these other clues. It sounded like a wrestler to me. I'm like, yeah, this sounds like a wrestler, but ultimately I couldn't place any wrestling clues that would determine it being anybody in the wrestling world for WWE. So ultimately, I just kind of assumed it could just be Tim McGraw. That would honestly be amazing get for this show. I think the judges will probably again be blown away that they would have gotten Tim McGraw. Um, yeah, I've seen Tim McGraw on, of course, like not only singing, but I've seen him on like YouTube videos, like Dude Perfect. I've seen him on The Blind Side, of course. He's acted and stuff like that. So, yeah, of course, he's even had his own fragrance at some point. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's Rhino and maybe it's Maybelline. I don't know. But moving on, the Swan. The Swan. I have two kind of guesses. One is fairly goofy. But I might be able to make sense of it all. And one I just have no clue. Nina Bodrev. Nina Bodrev, evidently from Vampire Diaries, which I've seen lately, because yeah, I've just been casually watching it. Not me wanting to really like it's just something that's on TV while I'm up doing my YouTube prep and research and whatever. Because I don't really watch that show. But Nina Bodrev, yeah, sure, I guess. One of the judges suggested that, so I guess I can throw that up there that maybe it's Nina. Considering Vampire Diaries is kind of over, what is this girl gonna do now? Reasonably, I also threw something up there as just kind of a maybe. What if it is? Wouldn't it be hilarious? Bjork reasonably Ken had consistently brought up Bjork. Like brought her up all the time. Like consistently brought her up. Bjork, Bjork, Bjork. It's probably Bjork. Bjork, Bjork. What if, like, I'm sure that this Bjork thing that Ken did went viral. What if actually Bjork is actually the Swan? Of course, Bjork is famously known for coming to some MTV video or music award show or whatever with a swan dress. Ultimately, hearing Bjork when she actually sings and actually listening to this swan sing, I don't know. Like I'm just it's coming down to some kind of weird bizarrish thing where ultimately like I don't know why can't it be Bjork? Maybe there's something just about this that just seems so like it can't be Bjork. It can't be that it should. I don't know. Um looking at like probably like looking at like last season when everybody was like, okay, Jamie Foxx is in the Fox, and it wasn't that. It was Wayne Brady all along. Um, like yeah, kind of looking at that and just going like, is this just the same thing again? Where it's like, okay, like people are gonna maybe say it's Bjork and then it's somebody completely different. I don't know. I don't know. I just feel that it's like, why not call a spade a spade? If it sounds like Bjork, maybe it is Bjork. Like, why not just put it out there and maybe see if people like can come up with the consensus as well? Just like, yeah, maybe it is. Maybe you're right on something about that. Maybe there's something right about that. Maybe there's, um, yeah, at the end of the day, it could honestly be a number of other people. If people have more of a consensus of who the Swan is, let me know in the comments below, as well as any of these other characters. Yeah, ultimately, yeah, this one, I was really having no clue who most of the people were. Most of the time I kind of went with the judge's decision, but then I tried to, after the show, kind of really look into things or research or kind of figure out, second guess myself and come up with other conclusions. Uh, so like I kind of like had to do a double take and just be like, okay, wait a minute. Like, could there be other answers than what I have here? Um, More so than the one that got eliminated by the end of the night. So, because ultimately, if there's sometimes when you just can't, like, you can't cheat the system. You can't just go all of a sudden, like, the person that got unmasked, you're gonna, like, oh yeah, now I know exactly who that person is, and yeah, win again. No, because ultimately, like, there's something about it where it's like, okay, I didn't come up with this answer, I did come up with this answer within the episode, whether it's like seconds before the person gets unmasked or whatever, but ultimately once that time happens, it's you're done, you're donezo, you're yeah, you're that's all you have. So yeah, that's a good thing about me. I'm honest about what I do here. I don't try to cheat. I don't try to make up some kind of shenanigans of whatever. But ultimately, like I said, if people have a more direct answer or the right answer, basically, let me know in the comments below. So, reasonably now, we're going to get to that time again of showing you who the actual bear was. I was trying to bear down of who this person actually was, but I barely didn't really know who it was. I was making one shot guess, hoping, but ultimately I was like, well, season has been going pretty well so far, so ultimately, I think at the beginning of every season, um, or every time that there's going to be another group coming in, I'm ultimately much more often going to get like the premier group uh person, whoever, like I'm probably gonna get it wrong or I'm probably gonna get it right. But anyways, now spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's that time again to let you know who was behind the mask. So if you don't want to know, it's now your time to click off. But ultimately, I'm gonna spoil who it is, and then ultimately I'm going to give my season recap of how I've been kind of really been going this season. If you already don't, probably by my demeanor, know what's going on. Sarah Palin, former governor of Alaska and vice presidential candidate. Sarah Palin? What the? Not that there's anything wrong with Sarah Palin being on the show. I would have just never guessed in a million years she would be on here because there's not a lot of time that you see like a government like person being involved on the show. It would be kind of interesting to see like past presidents being on the show, maybe like Obama um, or Obama's wife. Yeah, that would be kind of nice. There was one time before where Obama did sing a God, what was it? Uh, Let's Get Together or something like that. He sang something like that on a thing, and everybody got down to it. Everybody was like, "Yeah, Obama can sing like a mother." But yeah, so Sarah Palin. Everybody was thinking. I think everybody was thinking, I'm like, "Oh my God, it's Tina Fey," because everybody gets confused with Sarah Palin and Tina Fey. So, and it's funny enough that like even one of the judges said like Tina Fey in one of the guesses, which is kind of hilarious because like man, you were so close, but yet so far away. Yeah. So, as you know, we tend to do this thing here called lose every once in a while. Yeah. Tyra Banks, not so much. Yeah. Sarah Palin, evidently. Man, was I a rocket ship of off. But ultimately, I thought some of the clues were kind of like, I guess, too tempting to not just assume that it could be Tyra Banks, even though I think Tyra Banks is pretty gosh darn tall, but ultimately I wasn't thinking I was giving that and putting that into consideration when I was hearing these clues. The clues ruin me all the time. I just listen to these clues and I assume that it's like, man, these clues are so undeniably like, oh, it's gotta be like I gotta be right about these clues, and then ultimately I go into the clues and then I'm like, oh yeah, it's this person, and then it's not that person at all. So yeah, again, um freaking the elephant did me in before with his clues. Now these clues on this episode kind of really sucked me out or bombed me out or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, if there's some people that probably have better, like, could easily have come up with every one of these clues, much more quicker than I did. Yeah, maybe I might have to like live stream or something, like somehow, somewhere, maybe on a like yeah, here's what I think that this person is. Um, like, what are you thinking? But a lot of the times, I tend to catch the episodes as an afterthought. I tend to catch the episodes like on Hulu a lot of the times. Besides, like, there's a lot of times where I'm not up or I'm not awake to watch the episodes live. So a lot of times I might be watching it as an afterthought on Hulu. Just because a lot of times, like, I just my sleeping schedule is different from when this show is on. So yeah, it's just because I do a lot of videos. I do a lot of YouTube videos, and then I ultimately crash as soon as I do those. So yeah, ultimately another loss, but when looking at the entire season as a whole, these losses aren't coming so bad. And ultimately, the clues are so out of whack that it's ridiculous. And ultimately, it's just the ones that I would have gotten incorrect are ones that I would have never thought would have been on the show. I've never would have thought that the people that were on the show, I never would have thought would have actually been on the show, who I got wrong. So ultimately, I can feel good about that. But man, Sarah Palin, man, was she like letting it loose in this episode, man. Like all the stuff that she was doing, all the moves she was pulling out. Man, wow. And plus the song that she was singing is like, man, Sarah, man. The only problem that we're gonna have about this show is just everybody, it's gonna get out everywhere that she's gonna be on this show because it's already on Google that like Sarah Palin was on this show, so it's gonna be like ruined for everybody as soon like Sarah Palin doing what on the Masked what now, and then all of a sudden people are just gonna be like, oh, you ruined this for me, like just going on Google or going anywhere. A lot of people are just gonna be like, oh my god, Sarah Palin. Like this is gonna be like the gift that keeps on giving. Um, just because of how many people would honestly make fun of Sarah Palin, but ultimately now I think it's just kind of like, hey, like she can make fun of herself, and that's fun. That's good. And ultimately, like yeah, it's like Sarah Palin. It's like yeah, like I know a lot of people remember her from her whole like Alaska thing and talking about like being a vice presidency and all this stuff, and it was just like when it was Obama and God, what was it? The guy from Minnesota that I completely forgot about. And eventually Obama won. Um, Sadly enough, yeah, a guy from Minnesota, and I completely forget who he was. It was uh, it was some presidential race, and yeah, at that pace, I don't remember every name in the world. So yeah, if people remember it, let me know. But even from a guy, I should probably remember him from being in Minnesota, but again, my mind is kind of starting to draw a blank as this episode closes. So, or as this video closes. So, yeah. So Sarah Palin, who would have thought? But man, was she just like wow? She was really impressive for what she could deliver with what skills that she had. I was just kind of like, okay, all right, interesting. So yeah, let's get into a consensus about our season and how well or how poorly it might be going at this point. Especially if you guys haven't seen the entire season, now you're going to get spoiled on who every single person is. If you haven't seen every single episode and you don't want to know every single person that has gotten unmasked at this point, then yeah, it's your turn to turn back now. But wow, man, if you've missed all this, maybe double check and go and check it out on Hulu. You can watch entire episodes on that. Some people are going on YouTube and trying to find some kind of full episodes that they can see, or just something that they can see through YouTube. But yeah, if anything, we are gonna do a season 3 recapping right about now. So now I'm going to show you every single character that has been unmasked in the past episodes. So if you don't want to know, click off. But if you want to hear my recap of the whole season, then stick around because we're going to do this right now. So, again, I'm still feeling pretty gosh darn good about the season. Cause 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've gotten 5 out of the 7 correct so far, so I'm still feeling good. Ultimately, yeah, I think there's still more people to unmask in the past. That I think that I could get more correct on. I ultimately think within the following week, I'll probably get more research under my belt on who Group C could possibly be, and ultimately get more right answers out of Group C, and then ultimately I will just be like, nah, probably another winning season under my belt. Yeah, I think in seasons past, like I would just come up with these answers out of the hat of somewhere, out of like I'd pull this answer out of my tuchus, and like I would just get these things right, and I don't know how they would happen miraculously. I think now it's really like digging deep down into like really trying and even like researching people, googling stuff, or even watching other YouTubers that might have answers on this. Reasonably, for some reason, people are quite possibly thinking that the kitty, where I probably said it would be Keira Knightley, a lot of people are thinking that the kitty could honestly be Nicole Richie. If you guys don't know, Lionel Richie's daughter, of course, from her being partnered up a lot of times with Paris Hilton. Yeah. Ultimately, it could be Nicole Richie could quite possibly be the kitty. That might be an additional answer to the next time I see the kitty, if I remember that or not. The kangaroo, I still have no clue who that really is. I came up with an answer before, but you know what? I'm not quite sure. Other than that, I think I'm pretty good on some of my answers. Yeah. Besides Group C, I'm very confused or concerned that maybe I will learn in the following episodes I will be getting a lot more incorrect than right. But might I say that at least we'll have a week to research these things to figure out who via clues um, people could immerse, could come up with, people could rationalize in their head. Yeah, I ultimately think that my clues could be changed within a week's time, and then I could really say like have my stamp of approval that it's like okay, I think I know um who these people are now. But yeah, ultimately the first week of a new of costume characters is very rough. Luckily, we haven't had a double elimination yet. Um, like in the last season, they had a double elimination like right away, and I was like, God, this is so awful. Because I'm like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna get these people wrong because I don't have enough time to like marinate on who I thought it was. Um, but yeah, I think I don't think like overall like after that first initial um kind of blip, I was kind of doing well past that point. Kind of like this season, like there's always like a beginning of a new people, a new team of whatever, a new costume coming out there. Like ultimately, I'm destined to fail, but after that, I'll research and dig and find out things and try to ask people and they give me responses and this and that. So yeah. So ultimately, I'm still feeling pretty good about this season, even more so than seasons before. Because ultimately, I think I've kind of bizarrely known a lot more about a lot of these people, even though the things are, especially this season, just a little bit harder. Like ultimately in season one, I could easily come up with every one of the people that were in season one. Like easily, it was a breeze. Second season, I really was having a lot of trouble because there was some characters that I'm like, I have no clue who this is. Like the clues are not helping at effing all. Like I was just so like, God, I just wanna just like be able to figure out something. And I had no, like, I didn't have much of Google help. I didn't have, like, I wasn't researching much things. Like, I was just going based on tone alone a lot of the times. Like, who I thought, like, just based on tone. And that was kind of like, I think, giving me in better graces of a lot of stuff going on in that season. But, anyways, I don't want to make this video too long. I want to get out of here. Bye, everybody. Bye, everybody.